Hey guys, in this video, I wanted to share with you my experience buying a used camera from Amazon's warehouse deals. This won't be a thorough review of the camera, but more of what to expect when you buy a used open box warehouse deals item from Amazon. In another video, I shared my experience buying a Nikon P900 that was Amazon renewed or recertified. So I was on the hunt for a Panasonic FZ-1000. So I looked in Amazon's warehouse deals section and I found one for $250, which was half the price of a new one. Amazon's warehouse deals are essentially open box items. The selection will vary a lot depending on what items get returned to the warehouse, and it can be hit or miss since you don't know what condition the item is before you buy it. I've always been a bit of a risk taker, so I bought the camera anyways, and it came within the week. I was really shocked to see that it was pretty much new. There were no scratches anywhere, not on the body, lens, or even the LCD screen. It looks new. I guess I was expecting a used item to be sort of banged up and missing parts, but that definitely wasn't the case. So the camera came in, the usual brown Amazon box, but inside was the actual Panasonic box. The box wasn't mint, but I'm not too hung up on it. It came with the original manual and CD that I will probably never use. I can tell the accessories have not been opened and they look new. There was a battery, cable, lens cap, strap, even a lens hood, and a battery charger. Like I mentioned before, the lens didn't have any scratches. The LCD was also mint. There were no dents or scratches on the body itself. So overall, it's like brand new, but at 50% the cost. So when I got the camera, I immediately took the camera out and started taking pictures, and I took about 100 photos. Then I remembered that from the GH3 that you can check the shutter count by accessing that secret menu. And when I accessed that secret menu, I was able to see this value called SHTCNT, and this is the shutter count, which is at 133, which means it was probably 33 when I got it because I took 100 photos. And the PWRCNT is the number of times the camera was turned on. I probably turned it on maybe 12 times before accessing this menu, so this tells me that this camera was probably turned on a dozen times when I got this. And the last value you want to look at is the STB count, which is the number of times the flash was used. And I never used the flash at all, so that number didn't change when I got it. So with these counts, we can see that the values are really low and that this camera was hardly used. The FZ-1000 isn't a very new camera anymore. It's 2020, and this camera came out, I believe, in 2014. It has been superseded by the FZ-1000 Mark II, which did add a couple of new features, but it's still very much the same, lens and sensor and body. So the Mark I, even though it's older, it's still a very good camera. It's such a good camera that Leica even rebranded it and sold it as the Velux Type 114. And for those who are into cameras, you'll know that the Velux kind of model naming convention for Leica is like the rebranded Panasonics. Basically, they take the same sensor and they take the same lens and the body, and they just put their Leica logo on it with the red dot, and then they charge a little bit more. So you could sort of say that the FZ-1000 is sort of like a poor man's Leica. There was probably some arrangement with Panasonic to rebrand a few of its cameras because the lens and sensors were made by Leica. Having only paid $250 for this open box camera, this is probably the closest I'll ever get to owning a Leica. The FZ-1000's claim to fame was the 4K 30p video. When it was released, it was one of the only consumer-grade cameras that did 4K video, and it also had a larger, 1-inch sensor and the 25 to 400 millimeter zoom lens. This made the FZ-1000 a really nice all-in-one camera to take with you on trips. Its 1-inch sensor isn't as big as DSLRs, but it's still 4 times bigger than the sensors you'd find in a typical smartphone. It's It's on par with cameras like the Sony RX10 and the RX100. They also have the 1-inch sensor. So here are some photos and videos I took with the FZ-1000. The 25 to 400 millimeter 16 time optical zoom has got some decent reach. You can almost see people on the mountains. This should be more than enough for vacation photos and videos. It may not zoom in as much as the P900 or the P1000 by Nikon, but it makes up for it with a larger sensor and better optics. The FZ-1000 isn't for everyone, but I think it has the right mix of features that makes it the ideal camera for me. I have other cameras from Panasonic like the GH3, and the interface along with the button layout is very familiar to me. I also like how Panasonic doesn't put too much labeling on their cameras and they look very clean. So buying a camera from Amazon's warehouse deals isn't bad at all. It was on par with my experience with Amazon renewed or recertified items. The items looked spotless and was mint. For cameras or electronics in general, it matters a lot. If you bought a warehouse deals item, let me know in the comments about your experience. Anyways, have a nice day and I will see you next time.